Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I'm ready to do kind of a final thoughts. It's not really, I guess you could call it a full review, but these are two fixed blades that are not full production versions yet, or not even, these are prototypes, is the best way to put it. So calling it a full review just seems a little bit wrong-ish because they're prototypes, but it is a review of sorts, so depending on how you want to define this. These are two prototype knives which have been loaned to me by SRK Knives. They came by way of my friend Alex, who I've loaned stuff back and forth with a few times. He's been a supporter of the channel for quite a while now, and I really appreciate him. But he's been kind of instrumental, from what I understand, in the way that Cliff over at SRK Knives has been designing these. And really it started as one model. I had a prototype of that in, actually had two prototypes of that same knife in before, and then now it's kind of diverged into two similar but different models that I believe will be available for purchase soon, maybe with a couple of very minute updates, but these are very, very close to what the final product will be. So I've had a chance to check both of them out, and I'm just gonna give thoughts on each of them one at a time, and we'll go from there. So we'll start with this guy. We'll finish with this one. You can see this one is set up for horizontal carry on a belt right now. This one is set up for like neck knife carry, which is the way I've primarily carried that one. All right, so this one, I don't know what the model names of these are going to be. I'm going to link down below to SRK Knives on Instagram, and then I think he's got a site. If he does, I will, but at least on Instagram, and you'll be able to see more details on these. I'm just going to kind of give some thoughts of what I've found in them based on a little bit of carry and use and just feeling them out, and hopefully that's valuable in some way to Cliff as he's finishing up on making these a reality. So this one is set up for horizontal belt carry right now. That's the way that Alex, who had these before me, set this one up. I believe from Cliff, these originally ship with like I believe it's called a tech lock. It's like that clasp thing that you can set up in either orientation, and I've had those on a couple of different fixed blades before. They work pretty well, but I do like, for horizontal carry, these kind of soft loops worked really well for me. I think I was actually supposed to spin these around, but it carried fine just like this, so it's the way that I carried it. Horizontal, front of my body, kind of appendix, which is the way that I like to carry EDC fixed blades. That's the best way I've found for me to have them comfortably on my body. This sheath also does have a little bit of rattle. I've been told that the full production sheath will be set up a little bit tighter, and these are prototypes, so is what it is. But this sheath actually worked out pretty well in terms of actually keeping the knife on my body in a comfortable spot, keeping it level, and being pretty easy to draw out of and insert the knife back into. So in terms of carry, it went fairly well. This knife is a little bit on the large end of the spectrum for EDC fixed blades for me, just in terms of its length and proportions, but it is pretty light, it's pretty slim, so it's not uncomfortable. It's just really a little kind of on the long side for me to carry right there, but not the longest, and it's acceptable. So let's talk about the knife itself. I believe the production version of this, I don't know whether you'd call it production or still custom at that point. I'm not sure how Cliff is going to be making these. I imagine he'll have them like water jet cut in a basic shape, and then he'll be doing the grinding and stuff. I would guess, but I don't know. I can't speak for him. Anyway, on the actual version of this that isn't a prototype, when it's at market, I believe he's going with LC200N on the blade steel for both of these, which is really cool in my book. I like LC200N a lot because it's ultra corrosion resistant, and it's just a good everyday usable steel. It's not like Vanex, which is ultra corrosion resistant and also crazy good edge retention, but LC200N is a good balanced steel for everyday use for the normal person, and especially for people in wet environments. So I think that'll be a good choice. This one is a full flat grind, which I like. That is probably my favorite way to set up a knife, especially this guy's got really thin blade stock. So you pair how thin this is with that full flat, and it gets really thin down here at the edge. It's a nice cutting profile. I have done, with each of these, I've done quite a bit of just like opening boxes, normal type of stuff. I've done processing cardboard for the dumpster. I did cut an apple for my daughter with this one. I think I did with that one as well. I've done a little bit of like packaging, clamshell packaging type of stuff, opening, that kind of stuff. And it's just a good, usable, working knife profile. So the blade is excellent in that way, just very intuitive to use. I believe on this one as well, the drop point is going to come, the point will be positioned a little bit lower on the full production version. Again, I don't know if that's what I should be calling it. On the production version of this, I'm just going to stick with that terminology. So the blade profile may change ever so slightly, and I think the proportions of the handle, as explained to me, might change ever so slightly as well. But let's go there. So this is a fairly simple handle. You can see the profile is pretty neutral all the way along. You do have a little bit of a groove here with a swell, just barely, and it's a nice, super comfortable spot. I imagine for just about anybody, that groove is going to feel comfortable. It gives just enough definition to kind of know where you are on the handle. I get a full 4 fingers on here without a problem, and it's comfortable. The scales are chamfered really well. This one I think is black G10, although I guess it could be black micarta and it's just kind of polished. Now that I'm looking at it next to this one, yeah, this is black micarta. So it's black micarta on this one with red G10 liners underneath it, and everything is finished well. Everything matches up perfectly. It just feels very good in my hand. There's a little bit of jimping up on the spine, but it's super fine jimping, if you can see that. Man, this is tough to get to focus on the jimping. Anyway, it's really fine jimping right up here, and it's a nice long stretch. It goes all the way to kind of up here. So for me, it's a good intuitive spot to reach up and feel it. And it's not really like, yeah, it's not aggressive at all. It's not hurting my finger in any way. It's not providing a ton more grip, but it is just a little bit more than if it were a smooth spine. So I like that. I think ergonomically, ergonomics are probably the shining feature of this knife. It's just really comfortable in hand, index as well. It's slim but still fills the hand enough that it feels comfortable and it works in use. And yeah, it's a solid model. I like it. I think this knife, of the two, probably just because of the handle proportions, to me feels a little bit more maybe heavy duty. Still a really thin blade stock, so I'd still call this an EDC fixed blade. But for EDC tasks, like this just fills the hand well, feels plenty robust, not having any mechanical components because it's a fixed blade. It's just a solid work knife. So I like that about it. And it's nice and light, carries very slim. It's a good profile. So it's really well done. I like it quite a bit. If this was at market right now, I'd probably want one of them. I think I dig it. Imagining this in LC200N and with a sheath that's a little bit more dialed in, it's going to be kind of a no-brainer, I think, in terms of just a usable EDC fixed blade from a cool maker. So that's that one. Now I saved this green one for last because I'm actually more excited about this one, which is interesting to me. I thought I would prefer the other one at first, just seeing the two of them side by side, but I really like the color pattern on here. We've got green Kydex, green micarta, which is kind of polished. We've got bright orange liners, and then this one is coated. I'm not sure what this coating is. I'd guess it's Cerakote. But yeah, so this one, the blade profile is skinnier. There's less height here, right? And it's still a full flat, still very thin behind the edge. In fact, this one for some reason feels even thinner behind the edge, which is kind of crazy because it's not as tall of a grind, but they're also the same blade stock thickness. So I don't know how that's possible or what wizardry was done there, but it's just a really nice, slim overall knife. And I don't know, I carried it as a neck knife a couple of times, and then I've also had it in my fanny pack a few times. I like to keep a fixed blade in that kind of back pouch that I've got on there. And this thing, I don't know, it really feels intuitive to me. It really works for me. I've kind of bonded with this one of the two, which is crazy. Like, looking at this handle profile as well, I'm usually a little bit hesitant about handles that just taper off and don't have any flare at the end, especially on a fixed blade where I'd feel like the types of tasks you're doing with it would be maybe more prone to slipping out of your hand. But something about just the really subtle kind of groove here and the way the whole profile sits in my hand, and I don't know, the actual just like shape of it when it all comes together, it feels pretty locked in. I genuinely really like the way this knife feels in hand. It feels somehow slightly more comfortable than the other one, even with a narrower handle. And I don't know how that's the case, but it is. I really like this knife in hand. It's great in a reverse grip. It's great for a draw cut, forward draw cut, hammer grip, saber grip. It's just like any grip I put it in, it works. It feels ergonomic and intuitive. And this blade profile too, it just kind of speaks to me. I like it. It's very usable. It's very simple. It's not overly complicated. But this knife just makes sense to me as an EDC tool. And I feel like as an EDC fixed blade, the slimness, the compactness, the narrowness, I guess, it all comes together to really kind of click for me. So I would imagine on this one, I don't know when these are available to purchase, what the options are going to be on sheaths and stuff like that. But this one worked great for me, like this. Genuinely, I hadn't carried a neck knife either since I was, I don't know, a late teenager maybe. It's been a long time. And it just works. So if you can see over my shirt, it's like, obviously I'm wearing a knife, but when I put it under my shirt, it's one of those things where like it is really truly concealed. You can see I've got like a necklace on, right? But to get the knife out, you just kind of pull your shirt up and pop the knife out, and there you go. You have a knife. So I find it actually works quite well. And the couple of times that I tried carrying it as a neck knife, I was like, maybe I should try carrying a neck knife again. So that'll always be an option on here. I believe he'll ship it with a tech lock thing, like the clasp thing. If you're not familiar with that, I hope I'm saying the right term. I think it'll have the same type of clip system on it that one will. But I don't know, maybe soft loops will be an option. This would be great with these same style soft loops for sure. Just the profile of it, again, the narrowness, the slimness, some soft loops on here would totally work in that way. Yeah, I like it. I do think as well, if you're like ultralight backpacking or something like that where ounces count and you want a fixed blade with you outdoors, I think this could make sense as an outdoor knife as well. I wouldn't be afraid of this knife outdoors. It's obviously fairly thin, so this isn't going to be like a prying, chopping fixed blade, but for the types of tasks you would do with a folder outdoors, this would be phenomenal for it, and could even go a little bit further just because there's no mechanical limitations or parts that could fail, or it's just this. It's very simple. So I don't know. Yeah, I really vibed with this one. I'm not sure what the names of these knives are going to be. I'm not sure, again, what the final like presentation will be of them, what they'll come with, what pricing will look like. I don't know that yet. But it's been fun to spend a little bit of time with these and just check them out and feel them out. And again, the surprise for me kind of has been, I thought this would be my favorite. And I love this. I really, truly like this knife. But this one just, I feel like I need this knife. It really clicked for me, and I ended up liking it a whole lot. So yeah, I think they're both a win. Again, SRK Knives will be linked down below. Check them out if you haven't. Cliff over there is a really cool dude. I've gotten to talk to him a little bit between the last prototype that I checked out and now these. And yeah, he's a cool dude, and I'm excited to see kind of what's in his future, because he's a talented maker, and I think it's just kind of the beginning for him. So anyway, these are the SRK Knives prototypes, and they are pretty freaking sweet, and I'm glad I got to check them out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.